myself a trading wala and I'm a Mansur Hans Kushamat Simple. So uh, to, today I came with a new call and video, and the topic of today call and video is even impact history and post and delve into events that have significantly. So here we go. Hi Maya.
Yo, Moise. Hope you're having a good Monday.
Yes, I have, and are you ready for my interview? I'm going to take your interview today. Are you ready for that?
Bring it on.
Okay,
I'm all
okay,
ears.
okay. So my first question for you is that what do you think was the single most world-changing event in human history?
Oof, that's a big one to kick things off with. Honestly, I'd say the development of agriculture wasn't like one moment, obviously, but the shift to settled farming that fundamentally changed everything. It allowed for population growth, specialization of labor, and ultimately civilization as we know it. Everything ripples out from that. What makes you ask?
Okay.
Everything all right?
Uh,
You went quiet there.
okay.
No pressure to answer if you need a sec to gather your thoughts, though. Okay.
Okay,
Ready
Sumaya.
when you are. Because
Okay, so my next
feel
question for
free
you
to
is
just.
that how did the fall of Roman Empire reshape Europe?
Okay, good question. The fall of Rome wasn't some clean break, right? It was a long, messy decline. And that's what really shaped things. Without that central authority, Europe fragmented into a ton of smaller kingdoms. It led to a power vacuum, which fueled constant conflict, but also innovation as those kingdoms competed. It really kick-started the Middle Ages with the rise of feudalism and the Catholic Church stepping in to fill some of the void. Basically, it traded centralized order for localized power struggles, and that defined the continent for centuries. Does that make sense?
Uh, yes, it makes. And moving to my next question, and my next question for you is that what lesson can we still learn from the Renaissance?
Mm-hmm. You mean the Renaissance? Just want to
Yes,
make sure I'm
yes,
tracking.
yes, yes.
Right. Okay.
Please give me a long answer so I
The
can understand easily what are you saying.
Okay, absolutely. The long answer coming right up. So, the Renaissance, it wasn't just about art and literature, though those were huge parts of it. It was about a rediscovery of classical learning, Greek and Roman philosophy, science, and art. After centuries where that stuff had been, well, kind of sidelined. The biggest lesson, I think, is about the importance of questioning everything. Medieval thought was pretty heavily based on religious dogma, and the Renaissance saw a shift toward humanism, focusing on human potential and reason. People started looking at the world with fresh eyes, challenging established ideas, and making their own observations. That's how you get scientific breakthroughs, incredible art, and a flourishing of new ideas. It wasn't about rejecting religion entirely, but about broadening the scope of inquiry. We can still learn from that today. It's so easy to get stuck in echo chambers, to only listen to people who agree with us or to accept things at face value. The Renaissance reminds us that progress comes from challenging assumptions, embracing curiosity, and being open to different perspectives and independent thought. That's a big one, huh? Does that land okay? Everything all right? You seem a little quiet again.
Okay, so my next question for you is that how did the Industrial Revolution redefine human progress?
Right, that one's complicated. The Industrial Revolution definitely sped things up, no doubt.
Yes.
Before, progress was measured. Cheers to you too. Anything else on your mind right now? Gotcha. Just checking in.
Okay, okay. So
Ready when
Maya,
you are for the
okay, so
next question.
Maya, my next question for you is that in what way did World War One set to stage of World War Two?
Oof, that's a heavy one. Okay, so World War One basically created the conditions for World War Two. The Treaty of Versailles, how it ended World War One, was deeply flawed. It humiliated Germany, imposed crippling reparations, and created a lot of economic instability. That resentment was a breeding ground for extremism. Then you had the rise of fascism in Italy and Nazism in Germany, fueled by that post war bitterness and economic hardship. Plus, the League of Nations, which was supposed to prevent future wars, proved to be pretty ineffective. So, World War I didn't directly cause World War II, but it laid the groundwork. The anger, the instability, the political ideologies that allowed it to happen. It's a pretty grim connection, honestly. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes, it makes. And moving to my next question, and my next question for you is that what might the world look like today if World War Two had ended differently?
Now that's a fascinating thought experiment. If World War II had ended differently, wow. Okay, assuming the Axis powers had won or even achieved a stalemate, things would be drastically different. We'd likely be living in a world with multiple dominant ideologies: fascism, Nazism, and a drastically altered version of democracy. Individual freedoms would be severely curtailed in large parts of the world. There'd likely be a lot more ethno nationalism and a heightened risk of further conflicts. The Cold War, as we know it, probably wouldn't have happened, but there would still be intense geopolitical tensions, just with different players and different alignments. The global economic landscape would also be unrecognizable. It's honestly pretty scary to think about. It really underscores how important the outcome of World War II was. What part of that scenario feels most impactful to you?
Okay,
Just
okay, so
thinking out
Maya,
loud, or is everything
okay, so Maya, my next question for you is that how did the Cold War influence modern technology? So please give me a long answer so I could understand easily what I was saying.
okay? Definitely a long answer coming. The Cold War was a huge driver of technological innovation. It wasn't about building better toasters, it was about winning an arms race, and that meant pouring insane amounts of money into research and development. Think about it. The entire internet started as a US Department of Defense project, ARPANET, designed to create a decentralized communication network that could survive a nuclear attack. Space exploration, huge Cold War competition. Sputnik kickstarted the whole thing, and the US responded with NASA and the moon landing. Computers themselves were massively accelerated by military needs. Same with advancements in aviation, materials science, and even nuclear energy. But it wasn't just the direct military applications. The Cold War also fostered a culture of scientific inquiry and technological advancement across the board. The fear of falling behind spurred innovation in all sorts of fields. It created a self perpetuating cycle. New technologies led to new threats, which led to more research, which. Oh, all right. Well, it was good chatting with you, Moise. Have a good one.
Okay, so my next question for you is that uh, how did colonization shape today political and economic nation?
Whoa, okay, that's a really layered question. You're asking about the lasting impact of colonization on both political structures and social norms and how that impacts inequality today, right? I'm interpreting anomic as relating to a breakdown of social norms or a sense of normlessness. All right, so colonization deliberately dismantled existing political and social systems in colonized regions, replacing them with structures designed to benefit the colonizing power. That created incredibly unstable foundations for independent nations when they eventually gained independence. Artificial borders were drawn with no regard for existing ethnic or cultural groups, leading to decades of conflict. Economic systems were restructured to serve colonial interests, extracting resources and creating dependencies that persist today. And on the social level, colonization imposed foreign values and norms, often suppressing indigenous cultures and languages. This caused a breakdown in traditional social structures and a sense of cultural alienation. It created deep seated inequalities, both economically and socially, that continue to be felt. You see it in wealth disparities, unequal access to education and healthcare, and systemic discrimination. It's really about power dynamics, the lasting legacy of power imbalances created through exploitation and domination. The inequalities we see today aren't random. They are a direct result of these historical processes. It's honestly a deeply troubling legacy. Does that resonate? Just checking in. Still there? Ready for another question when you are.
Okay, so Maya, my next question for you is that uh, uh, could the intelligent be considered the birth of a modern democracy?
That's a really interesting connection to make. The Enlightenment, you mean? It definitely played a massive role, yeah. The Enlightenment emphasized reason, individual rights, and challenging traditional authority, all of which are core tenets of modern democracy. Thinkers like Locke, Montesquieu, and Rousseau provided the intellectual framework for concepts like separation of powers, natural rights, and popular sovereignty. These ideas directly influenced revolutions in America and France, which led to the establishment of democratic governments. However, it wasn't a simple cause and effect relationship. There were lots of other factors at play: social and economic changes, pre existing traditions of self governance in some places, and sheer luck. Also, the Enlightenment wasn't without its flaws. It largely excluded women, people of color, and those without property from its vision of universal rights. So, while the Enlightenment provided the philosophical foundation, it took a lot more than just ideas to actually build modern democracies. It really was a catalyst, though, a crucial shift in thinking. What part of that connection seems most important to you?
Okay, so Maya, my next question for you is that what do you believe
Sorry, I didn't
history
quite.
repeats? Do you believe history repeat itself or just rhyme?
Ooh, that's a good one. I lean towards rhyme, honestly. History doesn't repeat exactly because the circumstances are always different, but you definitely see patterns. Human nature doesn't change much, so we tend to make similar mistakes, fall for the same temptations, and grapple with the same fundamental challenges: power, inequality, conflict, and so on. It's like a melody that's been rearranged, not a perfect copy. The chords are familiar, even if the instrumentation is different. It rhymes, but it's not an identical echo. Does that feel right to you?
Yes, it is. It is. And my next question for you is: which lesson from history are we at risk of forgetting? So please give me a long answer so I could understand easily what I was saying.
Okay, a long answer it is. Honestly, I think we're at risk of forgetting the fragility of democracy. We see this creeping rise of authoritarianism and populism around the world, and it's easy to assume that democratic institutions are stable and permanent. But history is full of examples of democracies collapsing, not necessarily through violent coups, but through gradual erosion of norms, suppression of dissent, and the concentration of power. People get complacent, they stop participating. They take their freedoms for granted. They underestimate the willingness of those in power to exploit divisions and undermine institutions. We're also forgetting the importance of a free and independent press and the dangers of misinformation. The internet has made it easier than ever to spread propaganda and manipulate public opinion. Throughout history, censorship and control of information have been hallmarks of authoritarian regimes. And finally, I think we're forgetting the devastating consequences of unchecked economic inequality. Huge disparities in wealth can lead to social unrest, political instability, and ultimately the breakdown of democracy. The Roaring Twenties, right before the Great Depression, were a period of massive wealth inequality. And that created a lot of underlying tension. So, the lessons are pretty clear: protect democratic institutions, defend freedom of the press, and address economic inequality. Otherwise, we risk repeating the mistakes of the past. It's a really urgent thing to remember. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes. Yes, yes,
Just
yes, it
checking in.
makes. It makes.
Ready?
And my next question for you is that how do small movements create big historical change? So please give me a long answer so I could understand easily what are you saying.
Okay, this is a really fascinating point. It's easy to get caught up in the big dramatic events of history, wars, revolutions, assassinations. But a lot of times, huge changes are triggered by seemingly small, insignificant moments. Think about Rosa Parks refusing to give up her seat on a bus. That one act of defiance, while brave and important in itself, sparked the Montgomery bus boycott, which became a turning point in the civil rights movement. Or consider the story of Gavrilo Princip assassinating Archduke Franz Ferdinand. That single act, a relatively small event in itself, triggered a chain reaction that led to World War I. It's often about a confluence of factors, underlying tensions, social movements, and then a catalyst, a small moment that ignites everything. Those moments create opportunities for people to make choices, to push for change, to challenge the status quo. They expose vulnerabilities in the existing system and create a space for new ideas to emerge. And sometimes those small moments just have a ripple effect, inspiring others to take action, building momentum over time. It's like the butterfly effect. A small change in one part of the system can have huge consequences in another. It really emphasizes that everyone has the potential to make a difference, even with seemingly small acts of courage or resistance. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Beautiful, it makes sense. And my next question for you is that if you could witness any historical event firsthand, which would it be?
Ooh, that's tough. So many choices. But I think I'd have to say the Library of Alexandria during its peak. Just to be surrounded by that incredible concentration of knowledge, to see scholars from all over the ancient world exchanging ideas, it would be breathtaking. It represents such a moment of intellectual curiosity and potential. And also, it's a poignant reminder of how fragile knowledge can be. The loss of the library is a huge tragedy in human history, so to witness it at its height would be powerful. What about you? If you could witness any historical event, what would you choose?
Historical event, I don't know any historical event, honestly, and leave it the question. And my next question for you is that if which current event might define the next century? Please give me a long answer so I could understand easily what are you saying. Hello, Maya.
Hey, back so soon? What's
Okay.
up?
Okay, Maya, I'm going to. My next question for you is that. Wait a minute.
Gotcha. Take your time. No rush at all. Still thinking? Just let me know when you're ready to jump back in. No pressure, seriously.
Okay, so my question was that how has technology changed the meaning of power? Please give me a long answer
Uh,
so I could understand easily what are you saying.
Whew, that's a good one. Okay, so traditionally, power was pretty straightforward. It was about control of resources, land, people, military strength, that kind of thing. You had a king with an army, and that was pretty much it. But technology, it's totally flipped the script. Now, power isn't just about what you have, it's about what you can do with information. Access to information, the ability to process it quickly, and the ability to disseminate it widely. That's where the real power lies. Think about social media. A single person with a large following can influence public opinion more than a politician with a massive budget. It's not just about influence. Technology has democratized access to tools that used to be exclusive to the powerful. Anyone can learn to code, create content, organize movements, and challenge established hierarchies. That's empowering, right? But it also means power is more diffused and harder to control. Then you have things like AI and data analytics. The ability to collect and analyze vast amounts of data gives companies and governments unprecedented power to predict and influence behavior. That's a little unsettling, honestly. So, it's become way more complex. It's less about brute force and more about network effects, algorithmic control, and information warfare. The meaning of power isn't just about domination anymore. It's also about connection, access, and the ability to shape narratives. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense, Maya. And moving to my next question, and so my next question for you is that how did the COVID 19 pandemic compare the past global crisis? So please give me a long answer so I could understand easily what are you saying.
Ah, okay, that's a big one. Honestly, COVID-19 was unique, even compared to huge crises like the Spanish flu, the World Wars, or the 2008 financial crash. The Spanish flu, for example, was even deadlier in terms of sheer numbers, but it happened in a world without modern medicine, global communication, or sophisticated travel networks. So the spread was slower and responses were much more localized. The world wars were devastating, of course, but they were primarily geopolitical conflicts with defined battlefields. While they involved immense loss of life, the threat felt contained to specific regions eventually.
Okay, okay, so Maya,
COVID 19, though.
okay, Maya, this is our today interview. I hope you like it. So, do, do you have any advice from our audience who are watching you?
Wow, we really covered a lot today. For everyone watching, my advice would be this: stay curious. Seriously, the world is changing so incredibly fast, and the more you learn, the better equipped you'll be to navigate it. Don't be afraid to ask questions, even the ones that seem silly. Embrace lifelong learning, not just to advance your career or acquire skills, but to broaden your perspective and become a more informed citizen. And importantly, use your knowledge to make a positive impact. Whether it's volunteering your time, advocating for a cause you believe in, or simply being a kind and thoughtful person, find ways to contribute to making the world a better place.
Okay, so viewers, this is our today's session with Maya. I hope you like it, and we will meet in next session. So till now, Allah Hafiz, Pakistan, Zindabad, Rehan School, Zindabad.